Just to let you know, this game is from my new course, 30 Games in 30 Days using Godot. If you enjoyed the video, you should check out the full course where you learn how to create the rest of the games. If you join the Academy, you will get full access to not only this course, but every course in my game development curriculum. A link will be attached to the description below. In this project, we will be creating a balls game. We will be playing as a platform who can move from right to left. Our goal is to help the ball hit as many block points as possible. Once we get a block point to 0, it will destroy itself and we will gain a point. If our ball goes below the platform, however, it will mean a game over. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, in this section, we're going to do the setup for our balls game. We're going to start off downloading the assets pack we're going to be using at this link here. Then we're going to go ahead and create all the new folders for the game's art and components. Last but not least, we're going to give the starting UI a title and short description. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. This here is the asset pack we're going to be using for this game. It's located at kenny.nl/assets/game-icons. So once you're here, you can go ahead and download this assets pack. Now we're really only going to be using one asset in here. This is going to be the circle right here. If you wanted to use any of the other icons for the ball, that's completely up to you. But go ahead and download this. Alright, let's go ahead and start creating some folders. So where we're going to put the art, once you've downloaded it, we're going to add it to our art folder here. Let's go ahead and create a new folder for it. Create new folder. Call this balls game. Alright, let's save that name because we're going to reuse it. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Perfect. So once you download the assets pack, you can drag and drop in whichever icon you want to use for the ball right here. Awesome. Next up, we're going to create the folder for the game components. So let's go ahead, create new in there. Let's go ahead, paste that name, balls game, add it there. Perfect. So any components we make, we're going to save them in this file. Awesome. Let's go ahead and continue on. Let's create the scene now. So we're going to duplicate our starting UI scene we've done in the past. So let's select it, right click. Let's go ahead, duplicate it. Simply just change the name to ballsgame.tscn. Go ahead, hit OK. Perfect. All right. Now let's go ahead and add the selection in our scene selection here. Let's go into one of the scripts, or even before we do that, let's select the third one right here to represent the name and the number. We can go ahead, put capital B, balls, space, game, capital G. Also for the game number, this is our third game, so let's go ahead, put 3 there. Perfect. Let's go into that script real quick, and then let's go ahead and simply create one of our new preloads for the games. I'm going to add a hashtag before I paste it in. Let's go ahead, take it, paste it in. Change the name here. Call this balls_game. Then we just need the actual path. Let's go ahead, remove the current one. Let's take the ballsgame.tscn, simply drag and drop it into the preload. Perfect. Then what we're going to do is get rid of the hashtag. Awesome. Now we just need to add the simple if statement for it. So let's go ahead, let's select one of the ifs here, copy it. Let's go right below it, paste it in. Simply change the text here to match the current game name we have, which is capital B, balls game. Okay, awesome. Then we just need to use the actual balls game here, right here. So let's go ahead, type in balls game, or you can select it, and then you should be all set there. Perfect. Let's save that real quick. Awesome. All right, let's go back into 2D view. Let's go ahead and open up the balls game scene now. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and change what we need, such as the title and also the text and the main node name. We can do that real quick. Call it balls game. All right. Awesome. Let's go ahead and save that. Perfect. Now we can change the other things. So this is all going to be inside of the starting screen. Let's go ahead for the title. Change it to balls game. Perfect. Then the text. Let's go ahead and just put something simple. You can put whatever you want here. I'm going to simply say, keep your ball up as long as you can. Perfect. And that'll be my simple description. Again, you can make this whatever you want, but I think this works pretty good. All right, awesome. Let's go ahead, close these out real quick, save what we got, and looking good. All right, in this section, we're gonna go ahead and create the main script for our game. We're gonna start off creating a new script and attaching it to the main node. Then we're gonna go ahead and add a couple variables for the game state and point tracking. We're also gonna go ahead and connect all the UI buttons to functions on the script. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, let's go ahead and get started creating the main script. So what we're simply gonna do is we're gonna select our main node, then we're gonna go ahead, add a script, make sure we're saving it in the correct folder. So let's make sure we're inside game components, and then balls game, open, create. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and add a couple variables. Super simple. We're going to start off with one called game_started, and we're always going to start that off equaling it to false. Then we're going to go ahead and create another variable, call this score, and start it off equaling to 0. Okay, awesome. All right, so then we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new function. We're going to call this function, and we're going to call this game_over. All right, and when game over happens, it's simply going to go ahead and it's going to turn on the game over screen. So let's go ahead, drag and drop that over there, do a dot visible, and then we're simply going to equal that to true. All right, awesome. All right, we're also going to go ahead and update the points. So let's go ahead and open it up, find the title in game over. Let's take that, drag and drop it, do a dot text, and we're simply going to equal that to double quotes, capital P, points, colon, space, and then we're going to do a plus, str, parentheses, and we're going to do score. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start connecting some of the buttons. So let's go ahead and select some of the buttons, such as the quit button we have in the game over. Let's go ahead, do pressed, select it to the main node, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a get tree dot reload current scene. Perfect. Now we know we have some other quit buttons, such as the one in the game UI. So let's go ahead and connect that real quick. Pressed. Let's connect that. There we go. Then we need, of course, the one in the start screen. So let's find that one. It should be towards the bottom. Let's go ahead, select that, connect that as well. Awesome. While we're here in the start screen node, let's go ahead and connect the button play. Go ahead, connect that. Perfect. So for button play, it's going to be pretty similar to the game over. We're simply going to go ahead and make the start screen invisible. So let's take that, do a dot visible, and now we're going to go ahead and simply equal this to false. Okay, awesome. All right, then we're also going to go ahead and we're simply going to set our game started and simply equal that now to true. And there we go. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to need one more function in here. This is going to be what initiates the game over. And what we're going to simply do is we're going to create a new node for this real quick. And it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to add a node here, an area 2D. And we can call this area 2D game over. So when the ball hits this, it'll initiate a game over function. And we can simply go ahead and simply add a collision shape in here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're simply going to give it a rectangle, make it somewhat bigger than the screen, so somewhere like this. And then we're just simply going to go ahead and just move it down. All right, perfect. Because once the ball hits below, it'll contact this and end the game. All right, so let's add that there. And what we're going to do is simply go ahead, select the main node of that, area entered, and simply connect it to the script. And all we're going to add here is simply initiate that game over. So we're going to call it by doing game over parentheses. And there we go. That should be everything in this script, and we're looking good. Let's go back to 2D view. Let's go ahead, zoom out a bit, and looking good. All right, in this section, we're going to go ahead and create a platform. We're going to start off creating a new node for the platform. Then we're going to go ahead and give the platform a color and a collision shape. We're also going to create a simple script to give the platform movement by following the mouse side to side. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, let's go ahead and get started creating the platform. So we're going to go ahead, create a new node for this. Let's right click, add a child node. And we're going to go ahead and we're simply going to use a character body for this. So let's go ahead, create a character body 2D. Let's rename it platform. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and we're simply going to give the platform a color rect. So let's go ahead, do color rect. Awesome. Now so we can see it a little better, I'm going to simply make the start screen invisible for a second. And then let's go ahead and move the platform where we want it. Our script might go ahead and move it also. But let's put this somewhere like right here for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to stretch this out a bit, the color rect. Let's go ahead and make it about this long. It's kind of up to you how long you want it to be. That might be a little big, so I might go a little less. Let's do half that size. And then kind of go like this. Okay, let's see that. Perfect. Maybe make it a little thinner. Awesome. All right. And again, you can customize this however you'd like, but I think it looks pretty good. We could go a little bit smaller, to be honest, but I think it looks pretty good like this. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and let's simply go ahead and give it a collision shape. And the collision shape we're going to use is going to be a collision polygon 2D. And the reason is we want to give it a bit of an angle on the top. All right. And that is because when the ball hits it, we don't just want it to always go directly up and down. We want to give it a little bit of movement to the left or right, depending on the angle. So we're going to give it a little bit of an angle. So let's do that real quick. Let's go ahead and add some new points. We're going to add one on each corner. First, let's just make it a nice square first. Again, it's kind of up to you how you want to do this. So let's do it like this. Okay. Let's adjust it real quick. I'm going to move this one there, this one over here. This one down one, and then this one down one as well, just so we get that perfect rectangle look. Awesome. All right, but like I said though, we want it to go up a little bit here, so we're going to actually add a point directly in the center, and we're going to make it go up just a little bit. All right, and the best way to make this work, I found, is to actually go down on the sides a bit. So again, you might have to adjust these for yours, but I find that this makes it work really well for the game we're making. So there you go. Again, we might need to adjust this if the ball bounces too up and down, not enough angle to it, then we will adjust this, okay? But I think this will be okay for now. All right, awesome. So that's going to be our collision shape. Perfect. All right. Now what we can do is let's go ahead and create the script. So let's select the main node. Let's go ahead. Let's add script. Platform GD. Make sure we're saving it in the correct spot. Balls game. Open. Create. Perfect. Let's save what we got so far and looking good. All right, let's start on the script. So we're going to add a couple of variables first. Let's go ahead and do some add exports. So the first one is going to be variable move underscore speed. This is going to be type float. And we're going to go ahead and equal it to 900. All right, awesome. Then we're going to go ahead, do another add export variable. We're going to call this fixed underscore y underscore position. All right, awesome. And we're simply going to go ahead, make that type float, and we're going to equal that to, let's say, 600. All right, awesome. All right, one more. We're going to do another add export variable. We're going to call this dead underscore zone underscore width. All right, awesome. This is also going to be a type float. And we're going to simply equal this to 20.0. Again, we might adjust these down the road, but they should be okay. All right, let's start this off with a ready function. Inside our ready function, we're simply going to set our global position equal to our vector2 dot, or actually instead of dot, we'll simply pass it in to global position dot x, comma, fixed y position. Okay, perfect. So that's just going to ready up the starting position. Then we're going to go ahead do another function. This one is going to be our physics process function for the movement. Okay, and first thing we need to check, of course, is if the game is on. So let's take our main script here. Dot game started equals false. All right, and if that's the case, we're going to return. And then don't forget your if at the beginning. Okay, awesome. All right, because we don't want the platform to move, of course, if the game has not started yet. All right, awesome. All right, then we're going to go ahead and make a couple variables. First one is going to be called mouse_x, and we're going to simply equal that to our get global mouse position. Perfect. We're also going to go ahead to our variable. We're going to call this player_x, and we're simply going to equal this to our global position.x. Okay, awesome. All right, next up, one more variable. We're going to call this direction _x equals, and we're going to do 0.0. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, two more left. Let's go ahead, create variable, and we're going to go ahead, do dead_zone_left, and we're simply going to equal that to player_x minus parentheses set of dead zone width divided by 2.0. Perfect. And then we're going to go ahead, we're going to do variable dead zone right. There we go, equals, and once again do player x. This time we'll do plus parentheses dead zone width divided by 2.0. Okay, awesome. All right, then we're going to go ahead, we're going to do an if. We're going to say if our mouse x is less than our dead zone left, then what we're going to do is inside it simply set our direction x equals -1.0. Okay, awesome. Then we're also going to have an elif, and in the elif we're going to say mouse x is greater than dead zone right. If that's the case, then we're simply going to go ahead and set our direction x equal to 1.0. Okay, awesome. All right. Then we need to actually initiate the movement by setting some velocity. So we're simply going to set our velocity dot x equal to direction x times our movement speed. All right, perfect. Then we're also going to set velocity dot y equal to 0 because we don't want it to move up and down at all. We just want it to move side to side. All right. We also need to, of course, initiate the movement with move and slide function. And then we're also going to need to go ahead and set our global position equals vector2 parentheses global position dot x comma fixed y position. Okay, perfect. And that should work pretty well. So let's go ahead, 2D view, save what we got, turn back on the start screen. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead, play this here. It shouldn't be moving around on start because we need to hit play. Once you hit play, though, looks like we're getting if our mouse direction is left, operands D2. Looks like we just forgot to add the .x to our get global mouse position because remember, we're not really tracking the y position. We only want to track the x. So on line 14, go ahead, do .x, save what you got again, turn off the current game, hit play. Let's see what happens. We load up, we hit play, and there we go. Awesome. See how that's following it around? Perfect. And again, if you wanted to make it faster, all you would have to do, of course, is go to the node here, go to inspector, and then change the value that you want. Okay? Awesome. But everything's looking good so far. I like it. Let's go ahead, save what we got, and there we go. All right, in this section, we're going to go ahead and create the ball node. We're going to start off creating a new node for the ball and some walls for it to bounce off of. We're also going to go ahead and give the ball a sprite and some collision shapes. Then we're going to go ahead and create a simple script for the ball's functionality. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, let's go ahead and get started creating the ball and then some walls for it to bounce off of. All right. So let's go ahead and create the walls first. So again, I'm going to go ahead and make the start screen invisible. The walls I'm just going to surround like right over here and on top. Let's go ahead and create a node for that real quick. It's going to be a node 2D. Let's simply just call this walls. And then what we're going to do is we're just simply going to go ahead, add child node, color rect, and we're just going to make the walls like this. And we're just going to go all the way down like that. Perfect. And it's up to you how thin and thick you want to make them. I'm going to do something like that, and then maybe I'll make the walls a little gray. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead, take that, duplicate it. Simply just move this one right over here. Awesome, and then we need one more, of course. Let's go ahead and make one more. And for this one, I'm simply going to go ahead, take the layout, transform. I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees. Perfect, and then I'm just going to extend it. Right. Awesome, and there we go. Perfect. So those are going to be our walls, okay? Awesome. But now we need to give them a static body, though, so they can actually be not pass-throughable. Let's go ahead, add a static body. There we go, perfect. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to need a collision shape for this. I'm just going to use collision shape 2D. Let's go ahead and we're going to add the new rectangle one. And I'm simply just going to make it match up with one here, just like that, perfect. And we could just make the same thing match over here. Awesome. Make sure it matches the top. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. And now let's go ahead and simply take that. I'm just going to duplicate it, Control D, and just simply move it on over to the other one so it matches up with it. If it's being stubborn, just do an eyeball it. And then you can use the pointer tool to make sure it matches up a little more correctly, just like that. Perfect. And there we go. Let's check the top. Looks good. Awesome. Then let's do the same thing we did earlier. Let's just simply go ahead, take it, Control D. I'm going to go to the transform, rotate it 90 degrees. Perfect. Now, if we want to extend this, if you remember, we need to make it unique. So let's go ahead and make unique for this one. I'm going to first, of course, move it on top. Might need to adjust it a little better. All right, and then I'm going to use the tool here. Let's move this down first. Let's move this one over here. Awesome. And then simply, of course, drag this all the way over here. Perfect. All right, great. So that's going to be our walls border. Perfect. All right. So now we, of course, need the ball. So let's go ahead, close this up there. Let's go ahead and create a new node for this. This is going to be a character body 2D. Let's just call this ball. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Now for ball, we need to, of course, give it a sprite. So let's go ahead, add child node, sprite 2D. Let's use our art that we got. I used the simple circle one. Let's find it. There we go, target. Let's add that in. I think that's a pretty good size. If you want to increase the size, that's up to you. Make sure you're moving it by the main node though. I'm going to put it just directly above, like right here. Okay, awesome. And then we're going to go ahead. We need to add a couple other things to this, such as a collision shape. So let's add that. I'm going to add the collision shape. Awesome. Let's use the circle one. And then we just got to match it up with the size. Now this one is going to be a little less. Let's just do a little less. It might not be perfectly centered. Let's make sure if it's centered on this one, that means we need to adjust the sprite. So let's go ahead and just adjust the sprite. There we go. That's pretty good. Doesn't need to be perfect. All right, that looks good to me. And this is okay. I like it. That's going to be the collision shape, but we also need to give it an area 2D. So let's go ahead, add an area 2D. And we're going to go ahead and give it like the same collision shape. I'm going to copy this and drag and drop it in there. Perfect. Awesome. Let's make this one unique. And then we're going to simply make this one just a little bigger. Make sure you're selecting the right one. Perfect. And that should be okay. If you want to change the color, you can do that too. That's up to you to make it more visible. All right, awesome. Now we need to add one more thing, and that's going to be a group we're going to give that. And we're simply going to give a group to the area 2D. And we're just going to call it ball. All right, just like that. Perfect. And there we go. Awesome. All right, so now we just need the simple script. So let's go ahead, close that up. Select the main node of ball. Add script, keep the name as ball, make sure we're saving it in the correct location, open it up, create, perfect. Let's save, and there we go. All right, let's continue this script. So let's go ahead and create some variables first. All right, let's go ahead and do an @export variable. This is going to be called initial speed. And we're going to make this a type float. And we're going to go ahead and by default, we're going to make this equal to 400.0. Awesome. Let's go ahead and do another @export. We're going to go ahead and call this bounce underscore strength. Awesome. And we're going to go ahead and make this a type float. And we're simply going to equal that to 1.0. All right, great. Then we're going to go ahead. We're going to create another variable. We're going to call it RNG. And we're going to go ahead and equal this to random number generator. And we're going to be creating a new one. So we're going to do new just like that. Perfect. All right. Next up, we're going to create another variable. We're going to call this current underscore velocity. And we're going to go ahead, give this a type of a vector 2. All right, and we'll leave it as blank for now. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and create the first function. This is going to be our ready function. So let's go ahead and first set our RNG. And we're going to go ahead and do dot randomize, which we're going to create. There we go, perfect. Then we're going to go ahead and do set underscore random underscore initial underscore velocity. All right, perfect. And then give that a set of parentheses. All right, so then we're going to start off again with function underscore physics process. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure that the game's on, just like we did before. Drag and drop dot game started. If that equals false, then we're going to go ahead and return. Don't forget your if at the beginning. All right. So then we're going to go ahead. We're going to set a couple things. First thing we're going to set is the initial velocity. So we're going to set velocity equal to our current velocity. Perfect. Then we're going to go ahead, create a new variable. We're going to call this collision underscore info. Awesome. And we're going to go ahead and equal that to move and collide. And within move and collide, we're going to go ahead and simply set our velocity times delta. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, next up, we're going to say if our collision info equals true, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to simply set a new variable. We're going to call it a normal, and we're going to equal that to our collision info dot get normal. Perfect. Then we're going to go ahead. We're going to set our current velocity now equal to current velocity dot bounce. Within bounce, we're going to set normal. And then we're simply going to times the whole thing by our bounce strength. Okay, awesome. All right, so still within this if statement, then we're going to go ahead and we're simply going to get our global position. And we're going to plus equal that to normal times 2. All right, perfect. All right, then outside of the if statement, we're going to do another one. We're going to say if current velocity dot length squared, and we're going to say if that is greater than 0.01, then we're simply going to go ahead and set our current velocity equal to current velocity dot normalized times initial speed. All right, perfect. Awesome. All right, now we need to have the set random initial velocity function. Let's go ahead, add a couple enters here. All right, let's go ahead, do function, paste that name there, give it a set of parentheses, open it on up, and here we go. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, create a new variable for this. Variable, we're going to call it angle underscore degrees. And we're simply going to equal that to our RNG dot random f range, and we are going to do, let's do 45 comma to 135. Okay, perfect. We might play around with that value later, but I think it'll be okay. Then we're going to say if our RNG dot random I. And we're going to say percentage symbol to 2 equals 0. If that's the case, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to simply set our angle degrees plus equals 180. And then outside of that if statement, we're simply going to do another variable for our initial underscore direction. We're going to equal that to a vector 2 dot right dot rotated. And inside the parentheses, we're going to do a deg to rad angle degrees. Perfect. And then finally, we're going to go ahead, set our current velocity equal to initial direction times initial speed. Okay, perfect. And with that, we should be set with the ball's movement. Let's go ahead, clean it up a bit. Here we go. Awesome. Let's save what we got here. Perfect. Let's go back to 2D view. Let's hit play and make sure this goes and bounces off. All right. Oh, well, we forgot to, of course, turn on the start screen. Let's do that first. Oop, well, that was the wrong one. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's do it again. Let's go ahead, hit play. Looks like we're getting some issues for our collision. I think what we should do is actually just remove this here. Okay, and we should be set. We might not actually need that. Let's go ahead and try again. Hit play, and there we go. There's our ball bouncing, and it should bounce off all the static bodies, which looks pretty good to me. Awesome. And remember, you can adjust the speed and also the bounce, but I think overall it works pretty well. Let's see what happens when it hits the bottom and it ends the game. Perfect. Awesome. All right, looking good so far. Let's save what we got, and there we go. All right, in this section, we're gonna go ahead and create the blocks for our game. We're gonna start off creating a new node for the blocks. Then we're going to go ahead and give the blocks a shape and a collision. Then we're going to go ahead and create a simple script for the blocks to give the player points when hit. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, let's go ahead and start creating some of the blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and make the start screen invisible real quick because we're going to have to see exactly where we're putting all the blocks. Let's go ahead and let's create a new block. We're going to go ahead and create a node that's going to hold all the blocks. So let's go ahead and create node 2D. Let's rename this blocks with an S. All right, then inside of it, we'll go ahead, add child node. We're going to create another node 2D, and this will just be an individual block. All right, and we'll simply call this block 1. All right, perfect. All right, so for the blocks, we're going to add a couple things. The first thing we're going to add, of course, is the color rect, which gives it the actual color we want. All right, and I'm going to move this block in the corner. So let's go ahead and just move this simply like right here. And I want it to be a little bigger, so let's select the block here, go to Inspector, Layout, Transform, and just increase the size. So let's see what 2 looks like. We might need to go a little bigger, but that might also be okay. Let's see. I think that'll be all right. All right, so we'll use that as the size, which is 2. Okay, perfect. All right, then we need to give it a static body. All right, so let's go ahead and right-click on the block. Let's give it static body 2D. Perfect. And we want to go ahead and just surround the block with a collision shape. All right, let's go ahead. Let's do that there. Perfect. Let's go ahead and just surround it. And we want to go a little bit less than it because we're going to have an area 2D that comes into contact with it. So let's first match it up, and then we'll go a little less. So we're going to go there, and then what we're simply going to do is go a little less out of it, just like this. Okay, because we're going to have that area 2D when it enters it. All right. Awesome. So there we go. Perfect. All right. So now, of course, we need the area 2D. So let's go ahead and add that next. Right click, add child node. And we're going to go ahead. Let's do an area 2D. All right. And let's go add that collision shape. Perfect. And if you want to, we can simply just copy this one here. Control D. Take it and then drag and drop it into here. Or it looks like we already added it there. So I'm going to delete that original one we had. All right, but we need to make this unique, so let's go ahead, right click, make unique, and then simply make it go all the way out. Oop, looks like I might have used the wrong one. Nope, it's just here. That's the overlapping of the other one. So I'm going to change the color of this one to like a red, and then I'm simply going to go ahead and just stretch this to each corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab it. There we go, and then let's do the other side. There we go, perfect, awesome. All right, so that's going to be the area 2D where it comes in contact with the ball. All right, great. All righty. So now let's go ahead and let's give it a nice color. So I know we can't see it very well right now, but in game it's going to be white just like that. So for the color, let's go ahead and just give it a nice green. Now it's kind of up to you how you want to do it. I'm just going to go all the way to the main green value just like that. Perfect. All right. Because once it loses points, it's going to then eventually go to the different colors. So we know exactly what it is. Now to also determine what point it's at, I like to give it a little label. So let's do that as well. Let's go ahead and just simply add a label. And let's go ahead and just stretch it out to the size of it, just like that. Perfect. It's always going to start at 3. Let's go ahead and center that up. Nice and neat, just like that. Perfect. Let's give it a label setting. Let's go ahead and increase the size. Let's do something like 30. Again, this is completely up to you, how big you want to make it. I might do a little bigger. Let's do 40. Perfect. Let's go ahead and give it an outline. Let's do 18 for the outline and make the outline black. Perfect. I think it's a little too thick. Let's do 16. There we go. That looks a little nicer. Again, you can always customize this. It really just depends. We'll do 15. There we go. That looks good. Awesome. All right, so that's going to be the label. All right, so then we're going to, of course, attach a script to this, but I think everything in here so far should be great. So let's go ahead and select the main node of the block 1, add a script. Now make sure we're adding this in the right spot. So go ahead, select the balls game, open. Make sure, though, it is not labeled. Whoops, it looks like I added it to the wrong thing. I'm going to cancel that. Select the main node, add script. There we go. So again, make sure it's saving in the correct location. I'm going to get rid of the underscore and the 1 because we're going to reuse this for the other blocks. So we're just going to do it just like that, hit create, and there we go. All right, let's save. All right, let's continue on. So the next thing we're going to do, of course, is start adding in what we need for the script. So let's go ahead and start off with a variable. We're going to do an @export, and we're going to start off with a variable for the health of the block, which we are going to by default equal that to 3. Okay, awesome. Then we're going to create a function. All right, let's go ahead and create a process function. Perfect. In this process function, we're going to start off and say if our health is less than or equal to 0, then we're simply going to go ahead and first add a point. So we're going to go to our balls game, drag and drop it in there, do a dot points, and it should have points in there. If it doesn't, that means we are describing it wrong, so we can check it in here. Oh, it looks like it's score, not points. So let's go ahead, back on our script. We're going to do score, and we're simply going to do plus equals 1, okay? On top of that, we are going to queue free the block itself, so we can simply do that to remove it. Awesome. All right, but now, of course, if the health isn't that, so let's go ahead and do an elif. If the health now equals 1, then what we're going to do is we're simply going to change the color, okay? So let's go ahead and take the color rect, which is the block color right here, and what we're going to do is change it to whichever color we want. And to do that, we'll do a dot color, and we'll simply just go ahead and equal this to capital C color. And we'll give it a set of parentheses, double quotes, and a hashtag. And now we just need to paste the color we want to use. So I'm going to select the color rect real quick. Go back to the node inspector. Make sure you're selecting it. I'm going to make it red once it's at 1. So let's go ahead and locate red. There we go. I'm going to save the hex value right here and just simply paste it in right over there. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Now we need to do the other values. So let's copy that. Let's go ahead, paste this here. Let's do for number 2 now. So for this one, I'm going to do a yellow. So let's go back here, slide it over to yellow. Let's go ahead and copy the hex value, paste it in right here. Make sure to keep the hashtag. Awesome. All right, let's do the third, which we know is green. So I'm going to go ahead, take this, paste it in here. There we go. Equal it to 3 now, and simply change the color here to the green color, which is the default one. Copy that value, simply paste it right in, and there we go. Awesome. Now, of course, we need to update that label we have, but that's pretty easy. Let's just take the label right here. Let's go ahead, let's do a dot text, and then we're going to just simply equal that to str, converting the health value into it. Perfect, and there we go. Now we just need the actual area entered, which is super easy. Let's just select the area 2D, go to the node, signals, area entered, and then just simply connect it to the correct script, which is the block 1. Perfect. Awesome. And then what we're going to do is we're simply going to say if area dot is underscore in underscore group parentheses double quotes, if in group of ball, then we're going to go ahead and we're simply going to do a health minus equals 1. Okay, perfect. And there we go. That should be set. All right, awesome. All right, let's go back to 2D view here. And now we just need to, of course, is put these blocks into the world. So let's go ahead and simply just make one row real quick. So we'll use the move tool, Control D, and I'm going to simply just slide it on over. Just like that, we should be good. One thing to do though, before I forget, is let's turn on the collision shapes just in case. All right. Now, if these are too close, then we might have an issue, but I think we'll be okay because the block itself, if you use the move tool here, the pointer tool to the block, it should still be not close enough. So we can see that. Yeah, we should be okay. But I'm going to make these visibles real quick, just like that. It'll gray it out, but it still is the same color. All right, so let's go ahead and keep adding these and moving these over. So I'm going to go ahead, move tool again, select block 2, Control D, hold down the shift key and do that there, and then I'm just going to go ahead, copy all of these now, Control D, simply just move them on over and make sure they connect. Control D, move them on over. There we go, perfect, awesome. And then let's go ahead, I'm going to close these up so it looks a little nicer. I want to make sure that we can go all the way to the end. We might need to just adjust it a bit. So I'm going to take the end ones here, Control D. And let's go ahead and just put that there. Now, as you can see, that's not necessarily going to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply first close these all up. I am going to take the box itself and just center it somewhat. So I'm going to go ahead and simply just center it just like that. And then I'm going to move it down just a bit as well. And if you guessed it, we're just going to adjust the walls to these, okay? So it'll be super easy. Let's just go to walls real quick. Let's go ahead, and I'm just going to adjust the walls. And then we just need to adjust the static bodies. So let's go over there, perfect. Let's go over here, perfect. And then over here, perfect. Now we just need to adjust the static bodies like I mentioned. After we get these looking good, perfect. Which are right in here. So we can go ahead and simply just take these and go, let's go like right there. Awesome. You could do a little more if you want. I just don't want them touching it. That should be okay. Awesome. All right, and then let's go ahead. Let's get the other one here. Instead of adjusting this one, I'm simply just going to move it a little bit. About like right, oops. Let's get a little closer. Let's move it like right there. Awesome. And then the top one, same thing. I'm just going to adjust it by moving it down just a bit. Right there. Let's see how that looks. Should be great. Perfect. Awesome. All right. And again, if you wanted to adjust it, you can. You just move it up like that. Perfect. All right, great. Let's save all that. There we go. Let's go ahead and just hit play real quick. I just want to make sure that they don't get instantly defeated. So let's go ahead, play that real quick. Whoops, forgot to hit play, of course, with the start button. There we go. Let's go ahead, hit play, and let's see if it works correctly. Looks like it's not initiating it. To fix that issue, what we're going to do is simply we are going to go ahead and select our ball, open it up. We're going to go to its collision shape, and we're going to zoom in a bit. And what we're going to do is simply just increase the size of that just a little bit, and that should fix the issue. So if we go ahead and save that now, we go ahead back up. Make sure that our start screen is selected on, just like that. Let's go ahead, play again. Let's let this load, hit play, and there we go. Now it should be working a lot better. All right, awesome. And that's just because we needed a little bit more room on that collision shape. Okay, perfect. Awesome. And of course, if the ball drops, we get that. Perfect. Let's go ahead, close that. Awesome. Let's go ahead and save what we got, and looking good. All right, let's go ahead now and do some bug fixes for our balls game. We're going to start off testing the game to ensure it is working as expected. Then we're going to ensure the game can be played correctly. Lastly, we're going to fix any bugs that we find. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so far the game works pretty well. If we go ahead and start it, everything does work as expected. All right, the ball moves around, it defeats the blocks. If we miss it, it'll go ahead and hit game over. There's one thing I noticed where, of course, the platform is still moving as game over, so we can go ahead and fix that real quick. We could also add some more blocks into the game and move the top part down just a little bit so it doesn't have this little blue marker. Okay, so let's go ahead, and first thing we'll do, we'll fix the script. It's super simple. So inside the game over, right here, we are not actually setting the game back to false, so we need to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to simply copy this, just paste this here, and that will, of course, stop the movement of the platform. Okay, all right. Then we're going to go ahead back to 2D view. Let's turn off the start screen for a second and just duplicate a couple of these to make the game a little more difficult and last a little bit longer. I'm going to take the block 1, hold down shift, select block 13, and then I'm simply going to control D and just simply bring these on down just a bit. All right, I'm going to have simply 3 rows. It's up to you if you want more, or if you wanted to do a different style of design. That's completely up to you. All right, but I think this works pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead, close up our block node. There we go, perfect. Save that, awesome. Let's turn back on start screen. And then let's simply go ahead, hit play again. Let's go ahead, start the game, and there we go. Now it's going to be a little more difficult because the block is pretty close, but we also got rid of that. One thing we missed, though, of course, was the marker. So let's go ahead and get rid of that little marker at the top. That's pretty simple. We just have to go again to the walls. We're going to go to the color rect on the top, which I think is 3. And we're simply just going to go ahead and just move that down just a bit to cover that one little spot there. Perfect. Awesome. Let's save that, close that up. One more time. Play current scene, and we should be set. All right. Perfect. It looks really good. I like it. Awesome. All right. Looks pretty good. Let's close it out, and there we go.